wonderful celebration of Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. Disappearance means he wound off his pastime in this material world, yet we celebrate. There's a very unique thing about Gaudiya Vaishnavism, where even the appearance and disappearance both are celebrated. We celebrated Prabhupada's appearance day. When was that? Huh? Month of October? September? August? It's one day after Janmashtami. That's what is called Vyasa Puja. And then the disappearance day of Prabhupada happens this month in Kartik. The actual date of Prabhupada's disappearance was 14th November 1997? 77? 1977. If you're sitting in the front, there is a little bit of question answers. But today is 25th October. However, as per Tithi, today is the day when Prabhupada's Tirobhav happened, or Prabhupada's disappearance happened. I have a few thoughts to share. Let's see where it goes. Anybody knows when Prabhupada was born? Huh? And? No, when? 1896? Okay, year is enough. I don't want to get into this thing of how much you know about Prabhupada. When did he meet Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada? Okay. Where did he meet? Kolkata? Or Gaya? Banaras? Allahabad? I'm glad yesterday you had a session on who's Srila Prabhupada. And many things we think we know, but many things we must know. So instead of actually hearing today, you should ask yourself certain questions. Because the disappearance day is a very important day as to asking yourself, if I consider myself to be a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, what truly pleases him? It is not something that we have to demonstrate or so. It's something we should ask. What exactly pleases Srila Prabhupada? Imagine if Srila Prabhupada is sitting here. Right? He was saying yesterday, right? The deities are non-different from Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada deity is here, which is non-different. So Prabhupada is looking at each one of us. So if this question is asked to Prabhupada, what will please you? What truly pleases you? Now, if we think that the festivals that we are celebrating, that is going to please Prabhupada, the decorations that we have done, that is going to please Prabhupada, our knowledge, so much scholarship we have got on Vedic scriptures, the borrowed plumes, or is it something deeper? If you carefully see what pleases Prabhupada, that is what I am trying to focus in this next half an hour or so. More than any one of this, what pleases Prabhupada is our obedience, our purity, and our unity. Our obedience, our purity, and our unity. So I asked you this question in the beginning. When did Prabhupada meet Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? So he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in 1922 in Ulta Danga Junction in Calcutta. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur who's son of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, was seated in like on his knees. He was wearing bifocals, and he looked at Prabhupada for the first time. He was not Prabhupada that day. He was Abhay Charan, and he was brought by his friend Narendra Mullik. Because Prabhupada used to be the leader of their group. Right? Mataji, either you sit or I would like you to be listening, if possible. If not, that's okay, fair. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur looked at Prabhupada, because ultimately what we are doing here, what are we trying to do? It's not a demonstration of our skills, it's not a demonstration of something that we're trying to achieve. If we call ourselves Prabhupada's disciple, I should ask myself, what is it that's going to please Prabhupada? So in 1922, when Srila Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur looked at him and told that you are English educated, you are educated in English language, you should preach this message of Krishna in the Western country. And you should preach this cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Western country. So, Srila Prabhupada was taken aback. Imagine you meet me for the first time and I tell you what is the purpose of your life. We don't know each other. So Srila Prabhupada took it, whatever Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, but he was having a lot of questions and doubts in his mind. Once the class was over, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked any questions. So Srila Prabhupada raised hand and said, actually Srila Prabhupada at that time, he was a Gandhian. This day we say there are many people who are activists and they come in Instagram and they go and do some small this thing and post that and say they are activists. But they are not truly activists. Srila Prabhupada, even though he was English educated, he was so inspired by the teachings of Gandhi that he decided not to take any job. He was wearing khadi and he was, the non-cooperative movement which was started by Gandhi, he was sincerely trying to follow that. Right? That Gandhi dress and all, he was wearing khadi. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he asked any question, Srila Prabhupada looked at him and asked, the country is not independent. Who's going to listen to this message? Yeah, maybe what you are saying is correct, but the country is not independent. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this message cannot wait for the country to become independent. If the soul has to get liberated from the coverings of the body, this is the most powerful thing. And you have to take it. This message needs to be shared. This was in 1922. When did Prabhupada get initiated? 1936? 32, no? $33? How many of you think it is not 33? Just because she's saying, who knows? It was 1933, 11 years. Prabhupada came here in the year 1965. And in the year 1966, ISKCON was established. So it took him 1922 to 1965, 43 years. He didn't give up. If you hear Prabhupada's biography, if you carefully study Srila Prabhupada's biography, actually, what all hardships he endured, what all struggles he had to go through. How old are you? आपका कितना उम्र है? उम्र age? He doesn't. How are you? 60 plus? How old are you? 70 or? Anybody else was there with him? How old are you, Prabhu? 70? 72. So Prabhupada came at the age of 70. Imagine 72, just to get a picture, how old, how frail, how weak he must be. But he didn't give up this instruction which was given to him by his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Kept on trying, kept on trying. Actually, his whole life is an embodiment of this important virtue, preaching. What does Prabhupada say? Preaching? Preaching is the life. No, preaching. Back to Godhead. What does Prabhupada say? Preaching? Huh? No. I'm asking, Prabhupada had some important principles. One of them starts with the word preaching. Is the first? Preaching is the essence. Preaching is the essence. Actually, if we don't do preaching, our life will become dull, stagnant. Devotional service will have no rasa. You'll feel there's nothing, in the life. Everything becomes formality. दौड़ना है, भागना है, किच करना है, इधर उधर करके भाग जाना है. That is not what is going to please Prabhupada. I'm trying to build some things, and then we will hit on the nail on the head and see exactly when Prabhupada was asked this question, how does he respond? Now, fast forward, 1970. Okay, 1970, Prabhupada has brought some of his Western disciples to India. Okay, and then these disciples were traveling from Amritsar to Mumbai. And when they were traveling from Amritsar to Mumbai, there was a stop at Delhi. So the train stopped at Delhi. There was a well-wisher of Prabhupada by name D.D. Gupta. He came to meet Prabhupada in the station, railway station. So Prabhupada got down and then he spoke to him. D.D. Gupta was an elderly gentleman, very elderly person. So Prabhupada spoke to him, and D.D. Gupta spoke to Prabhupada and said that, Prabhupada, Swamiji, you're traveling all over India. Why don't you start something in Delhi? I have some place to give you. I can help you with that. Why don't you start something in Delhi? And so Prabhupada was accompanied by a few disciples of his. So Prabhupada heard, and Prabhupada looked at one devotee by name Gurudas. Gurudas is a tall gentleman. Yesterday he was mentioning the 3 couples who went to UK to start the mission. One of them was Gurudas. So Gurudas Prabhu, there is nothing. Prabhupada just looked at him and said, Gurudas, you get down at Delhi. Prabhupada had to go to Bombay. He couldn't cancel that. And he said looked at D.D. Gupta. So you wanted to start something here in Delhi? Here is one devotee who's there. Gurudas got down. Along with Gurudas, there were 4 other disciples who also got down. One of them was a Mataji, his wife. Who's she? Yamuna Devi, Dasi, Yamuna Mataji. So Gurudas, Yamuna, and 3 other disciples of Prabhupada, they all got down and they went. Now picture this. They are Westerners coming to India for the first time, had no idea and understanding of what that place is. The train is moving. Prabhupada is looking at them through the window. Just eye contact, and Prabhupada is blessing them. And they started this movement. This is called Nishtha. This is called how we should serve the mission of our spiritual master. And mind you, the place that D.D. Gupta took them to for these disciples was very primitive. No air conditioner, no heater, no mosquito, repellent. Bare floor on which you have to sleep. Very, very austere. They didn't say, what is this? What kind of life it is? Did we join the movement for this? They accepted the order of Srila Prabhupada. Because they wanted to please Prabhupada. In our lives, I've heard many times devotees saying, Prabhu, I was so busy that I couldn't, my life has got so many things, challenges going on. I couldn't complete my chanting of 16 rounds yesterday. Really? If you look at those disciples, is our situation that bad? Some people find it difficult to even come to 16 rounds. Isn't it? Why? Because we say that our life is so busy. First and foremost is, what are we here for? What we are trying to do? So the point I am trying to say is, Prabhupada says, preaching is the essence. We didn't come here for a comfortable life. We didn't come here to have some nice, accolades and something very this thing in life and then enjoy with that. That kind of enjoyment was there in material world, where people are hankering and they're fighting and they're having their own competitions. That's a different life. This is spiritual life. It begins by taking the order of the spiritual master very seriously, very strictly. Once in 1975, Srila Prabhupada was giving a class in Atlanta. After the class, a devotee asked Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? What do you think would be the answer? What pleases you the most? Huh? Distribution of books, okay? Preaching, okay? Chanting Hare Krishna. Following orders of the spiritual master. What pleases you the most, Mataji? Following Guru's instructions. Helping him in fulfilling his Guru Maharaj's instructions. Okay, one last answer option is all of the above, is it? Actually, Prabhupada has given in various times various answers, but the one that I want to say here, he said in Atlanta, if you love Krishna, you chant Hare Krishna. That will please me the most. If you love Krishna, first if you chant Hare Krishna, that will please me the most. Our movement is called International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We have to be conscious of Krishna. Very, very seriously we have to take this chanting. How can somebody say that I didn't have time to chant? I couldn't do this chanting of 16 rounds. How can we be conscious of Krishna if we are not chanting his names? If you love Krishna, you chant Hare Krishna. That will please me the most. You cannot give any excuse for this. How many of you know Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he started his Gaudiya Matha, how many rounds of chanting he was doing? No, there was a period, 10 years time, before starting the Gaudiya Math, 3 lakh names he was taking every single day. 3 lakh names for 10 years. That is 22 hours almost. It's not easy to come to. Why? Because if you really want to share this message, which I began with, if you want to share this message and you want to become an instrument or carrier of sharing this message to the world, it will only work if chant. It will only work if you have purity. What Prabhupada says? Purity is the force. Purity is the force. So when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, we become purified from within. Completely cleansed. Actually, Prabhupada says, the only asset that we have in our spiritual life is this purity. If you don't become pure, can you go to the Supreme Pure? We don't have a choice. It's not like it's okay, haan, theek hai, anarthas bhi hai, sab kuch chalega. Along with that, I'll go back to Vaikuntha. It will not happen. The example which Prabhupada gives, that imagine if you are put in the planet of sun, right? Prabhupada says, who's the sun god? Sun god's name? Vivaswan, right? So sun god lives in which planet? Sun planet. So only Vivaswan lives or anybody else lives? Who? There are some living entities who are there in the sun planet. And imagine if you are put in that sun planet. Will you be able to survive there? You will be burned to ashes because you need a body which is suitable, which is conducive to live in the sun planet. If you want to go to Vaikuntha planet, which is supremely pure, the Lord who is supremely pure, where it is mentioned, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. We have to become supremely pure inside. Without being purified, we will not get position there. So that is why purity is the force. And where does this purity come from? By chanting Hare Krishna mantra mindfully, heartfully, soulfully, attentively, very sincerely. Actually, that is our only asset. You cannot say, I'm working hard, I don't have time, I can't get up, I can't chant. Where is the pure? How will it come then? This austerity is a minimum. If somebody says that he is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he is not able to get up in the morning, he is not able to chant his rounds, he is not able to take this seriously, and he expects that he'll go back home, back to God, how on earth it is possible? How is it possible? Criteria are very, very fixed. Unless you are pure, you can't go there. And the process of purity is by chanting. Prabhupada is saying, if you love Krishna, you chant Hare Krishna, that will please me the most. That will please me the most. Now, this is the, I would say the first is preaching is the essence, then purity is the force. Related to this, there is something else which Prabhupada has said. How do we develop this purity? What does the word purity mean? What do you think? What does the word purity mean? What does the word purity mean? Yeah. Huh? Huh? Without offenses. Anyabhilasita Sunyam. What is it? Purity comes when we align ourselves with the will of the Lord. There is no other desire save and except serving the Lord. And how do we know what is the will of the Lord? That comes by following the instruction of the spiritual master. There's a very nice thing which Prabhupada mentions, which is worth paying attention, the next important thing which I wanted to bring to your notice. You know, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, towards the end of his life, he could see the signs of the devotees, his disciples, quarreling amongst themselves and fighting. And he was lamenting so much for that. He thought that this Gaudiya Math, which has been established, 64 Gaudiya Maths, despite the fact that the country was not independent, and 3 outside India. It's a big achievement. But what happened towards the end? They were fighting. There was quarrel. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada says, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur could have lived longer. But he was so disgusted looking at this fight amongst his disciples. There is a letter which Prabhupada has written to a person by name Sankarshana. Okay, this Sankarshan, he, like typically it happens in temple, where there is something which is not going right, or something is not this thing. he intellectualizes this very much and he says that, well, this is not right, this is not good, better I should become independent. It's easy, no? Become independent, you don't have to follow anything. Who knows what this thing is going on? And the response that Prabhupada has given, it's a very powerful response. Prabhupada is saying, disciple means discipline. Disciple means discipline, right? Without discipline, my dear Sankarshana, okay. Disciple means discipline. Without discipline, there cannot be any spiritual progress. Therefore, our system is to follow the authority of our superiors. Not that we can independently question. Not this is right, this is wrong. That is not the way. Actually, what he was sharing yesterday, the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead is Baladev. And the mercy of Baladev manifests through his representative in the form of this authority system. It's a fact. You may think I want to have some better ideas. Actually, this person who has written to Prabhupada, he wanted to study. He wanted to have exclusive time to read scriptures. And Prabhupada's message to this is, please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated so-and-so, and I have noted the contents. It is very good that you want to become very learned in Krishna consciousness. But what good is so much knowledge without practice? Obedience must be there. So by being submissive in this way and following the direction of the temple leaders is practicing the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So my best advice to you is that without questioning, you follow the instructions given to you by Vishnujan and other leaders and do exactly as they say, then everything will be all right. If you want to study, there is much time in the day for studying, but you must go also on Sankirtan party. That is the result of practice of your studying. See, it's a very mysterious thing. It is, what is our goal? Goal is we want to become purified. We understood purity is the force. How do we become purified? We have to chant. But along with chanting, it's very important, very soon we should get this, that, through this authorities, it's not like they don't make mistakes. The authorities don't make mistakes. It's not like that. Everybody is fallible except for Krishna and his pure representative like Srila Prabhupada. Everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes it may so happen also, you might have received an instruction, immediately after a few weeks, you receive another instruction which is quite contradictory. Has it happened? It has happened to me. So then you feel what is right, what is wrong, and you get bewildered with this. But remember this one thing which Prabhupada is saying, that when you follow the authority system, this spiritual life means disciplined. Disciple means who's ready to get disciplined. The more we have our independent ideas, the more we think I am far superior and intelligent and I can do something else, the more we are in Maya. Prabhupada gives, what is that? Aesop's fables, isn't it? Those stories which are there, what is that called? Wikipedia, Aesopedia, right? The collective, this thing. Not encyclopedia. The Aesop's fables together, they are called the Bible stories. There is a name for that. Anyway, you got it. Aesop's fables are all related. He was a Greek slave, but he was a good storyteller, and he had given some very nice moral instructions. One of them, Prabhupada says, he quotes this many times, various occasions. You have a bundle of sticks, right? And if I pass it on, who's the strongest man sitting here? Maybe Krishna is not here. Maybe Ajmala, you look strong. If I give you a bundle of stick to break together, it's easy for you. But if I remove one stick and give it to you, which is easier? One stick. One stick, anybody can break it. The more we try to become independent, the more we think we can manage our life, the more we are vulnerable to get broken by Maya. In the song which Bhaktivedanta Thakur sings, he says, Gopinath mama nivedana suno, Vishayi Durjana Sada Kamarata Kichu Nahi Moro Guna. In that, there is one line which comes, it says, Gopinath Sakali Tomara Maya. Sakali, everything is your Maya. Gopinath Sakali Tomara Maya. Nahi Mama Bala. I don't have strength. Jnana Surnimala. Jnana, the knowledge, we have different kinds of intelligence. Surnimala, which is free from contaminations. I don't have that. Nahi Mama Bala, Jnana Surnimala. Swadina Nahe Ekaya. And my kaya, my body, is not independent. It's free, not free from contaminations. So what do I do? So that's why the spiritual life means to become disciplined. Actually, mystically, this potency, Krishna's will, gets revealed by following this authority system. I'll give you a classic example of this, right? All of us, we know that this year is historic because ISKCON Bangalore became victorious in the Supreme Court. Isn't it? Haribol, actually. Not a small thing. Right? When Prabhupada was physically present here, he had his will where he was saying that his representatives should act on his behalf and they should give initiation. But there were few, even during Prabhupada's physical presence said that no, we don't need to follow that. They became independent. And then what happened? It takes time. It takes time. But there are some few sincere disciples of Srila Prabhupada who thought, this is complete aberration. And you see now, the victory at ISKCON Bangalore over in the Supreme Court. It's a testimony to this fact that through the authority system, when somebody follows and doesn't get independent, doesn't try to do things on his own, he gets the mercy of the Lord gets revealed. Mercy of the Lord gets revealed through this authority system. Very important, actually. These are all very subtle things. In another place, Prabhupada is saying, my request to you is that you follow the authorities there, the temple president, the GVC, etc. Cooperate nicely with them. Towards the end of his life, when Prabhupada was asked, he says that your love for me will be seen as to how you nicely cooperate with each other. Our movement is based on love and trust. If we do not cooperate, how is that love and trust? If there is no love, no trust, where is it leading to? Follow all the rules and regulations very strictly without deviation, chant 16 rounds, attend class, Mangalarati, and then everything will be all right. If there is any problem going on in our lives, if we are not able to experience the joy of Krishna consciousness, the problem is not outside. The problem is within. Kunti Maharani, in her prayers, puts this very nicely, very succinctly. Bhutanam yan mitah kali. If in your center of activity Krishna is missing, if in the center of activities something else is there, only there is quarrel, only there is envy, only there is fight, only there is fault finding. Bhutanam yan mitah kali. In another letter that Prabhupada has written to this person, what is his name? The photo of whom we keep it in the chariot? Jayananda Prabhu. So Prabhupada says, my dear Jayananda, please accept my blessings. I'm so glad to receive your letter of August 30th. And I know also that you are a sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. When you drive your car, you always chant Hare Krishna. And when I was by your side, I could understand how heartily you have accepted the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is very kind to all, but he is especially kind to his sincere devotee. Krishna is always with us, within our hearts, and he is always ready to give us direction. But because everyone is independent, Krishna responds cooperatively. This is when Prabhupada says, anyone who voluntarily cooperates with Krishna's desire, he responds to his call very eagerly. So there is a statement which Prabhupada, let me read this. Krishna descends to teach us Bhagavad Gita, begging our cooperation And anyone who cooperates with him becomes blessed. You are sincerely cooperating with Krishna, and therefore you all boys and girls in San Francisco working together harmoniously. Harmony means Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an exhibit of our talent and skills. How nicely I can play a musical instrument, or how nicely I can sweep and clean the floor, how nicely I can decorate. It's not about that. It is how nicely we can work harmoniously. Therefore, you all boys and girls in San Francisco working together harmoniously. Harmony means Krishna consciousness. And what is the biggest obstacle to working harmoniously? Is this idea of independent thinking or becoming independent. Where does it come from? It comes from the false ego. Where does the false ego come from? It is the ignorance of accepting that I am independent, I am very intelligent, and I am this body, I have got my bodily needs, which I have to satisfy. But disciple means discipline. Without Krishna consciousness, there cannot be harmony in the world. I have received the report of successful performance of Janmashtami ceremony. I am glad to learn that you are willing to come to India for further study. I received no letter from Dayananda and his wife, and so on and so forth, Prabhupada says. In another place, Prabhupada speaks, this is very, very interesting, which Prabhupada mentions that my request to you is that you try to follow the authorities there. Cooperate nicely with them. Our movement is based on love and trust. If we do not cooperate, then how is that? That's I just spoke. There is another very beautiful letter which Prabhupada writes. Material nature means dissension and disagreement, especially in this Kali Yuga. Material nature means that. But for this Krishna consciousness movement, its success will depend on agreement. Even though there are varieties of engagements, it depends on our agreement. So Prabhupada says, in the material world, there are varieties, but there is no agreement. Material world, there are varieties, but there is no agreement. But in the spiritual world, there are varieties, but there is agreement. That is the difference. The materialist, without being able to adjust the varieties and the disagreements, makes everything zero. They cannot come into agreement with varieties. But if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in varieties. This is called unity in diversity. It's called unity in diversity. You see? So, see, this is not just one activity that we have to do in our life. We've got so many activities to do. This is something which we are working on our own selves. We have to, if we call ourselves worthy of being disciple of Srila Prabhupada, there are certain things which we have to exhibit, we have to do. As Prabhupada is expecting that, we should all aspire to possess this asset called purity. And not just purity, because that is one thing which we can work upon. We can build that, and we have to strive for it. And then working on our false ego with the mood that how I can work, that love and trust and following the directions coming through our authority, very, very important. Otherwise, this Krishna consciousness, just naam ke vaste, I am a disciple, my name is changed, externally I am doing something, internally there is no rasa. There is no change. As Prabhupada was saying that, when he went to that temple in San Francisco, he was very pleased, he was very happy to see that temple. And it was not how the temple building was decorated or how this thing was kept and all. The reason when Prabhupada was asked, he pointed out that everybody is working harmoniously. Everybody is working harmoniously to please me. That is what pleases Srila Prabhupada. That is possible if there is love and trust amongst ourselves. So in the same 1973, actually there are many these things. I'll close in another 4 minutes exactly, because 8 o'clock we have our Guru Puja. So there is a letter which Prabhupada has written to Kirtanananda. In that, Prabhupada is confessing that my God brothers fought with one another after the demise of my Guru Maharaj, and my disciples have already begun fighting even in my presence. I am greatly concerned about it. He could tolerate illness, poverty, criticism, but he could not tolerate devotees fighting amongst themselves. If Srila Prabhupada could see our hearts today, would his mind be agitated or will it be peaceful? Because Prabhupada is saying that you are giving so much constant pain to me by writing these letters. Ask yourself, if Prabhupada sees our hearts today, will he be happy or will he become agitated? So, unity was not just a management technique for him, it was the proof of realization. That you are practicing Krishna consciousness, the proof of that realization is unity. Without unity, our kirtan becomes a noise. With unity, even silence becomes kirtan. That's Prabhupada's words. So if I have to summarize the whole thing that I was just trying to say on this day of Prabhupada's glorious disappearance day, actually, if we even aspire to, or if we call that we are Prabhupada's disciples, we have to look within. We have to work on ourselves. Right? We have to ask ourselves, can we live as Prabhupada lived? Purely, obediently, cooperatively. So let's take this day as a personal commitment, as a personal resolution, as a personal vow to keep our chanting pure. No negligence in that. Nobody is going to come to our this thing for that. I was busy with this work, I was busy with that thing. I couldn't chant, I didn't chant this day, I didn't chant. As I mentioned, our movement is International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And look at Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur's example. You want to do something big, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we've got this land. Radha, Damodar have mercifully agreed to descend here. There is much more to do. All the different desires that you have of preaching, of doing something big for Prabhupada will not be possible if there is no purity, if purity is missing in the heart. Purity is the force. There is no other force. So, we should keep our chanting pure. We should serve cooperatively. We should follow the authority very sincerely. We should keep Krishna in the center, not ourselves. So if there is one thing that you should repeat in your heart quietly, you should ask, Srila Prabhupada, please let me be a reason for your smile. Today, your disappearance day, we did some abhishekam. Let it not become some mindless ritual. Let me become a reason for your smile, not for your agitation. I don't want myself to become the cause of your agitation. So with that, we'll close and we'll go for Guru Puja. Srila Prabhupada ki, Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.